To order the City of Andover Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for today, Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Thank you for everyone that's in attendance. We'll start the meeting with a roll call, and we'll start from my left with our newest addition. Welcome.
Thank you. David Fuller here. Vance Garwood. Gary Israel.
Eric Peterson.
Marla Canfield.
Kirsten Barnes.
Thank you. First item of business is the approval of the minutes of the October 18th, 2022 meeting. If there's any questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve them.
Mr. Chairperson, I think I'm missing off the roll call list for that meeting.
Noted. Thank you.
Noting our attendance is always important. You're right. Surely there's an end of the year bonus that goes with that.
I feel like there
bet.
should be, obviously.
Guess she gets an extra nickel. Well, Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, will make a motion to accept the minutes from the October 18, 2022 Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have a second?
Second by Vance Garwood.
Thank you, sir. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item 4, communications, both the committee and staff report as well as the potential residential development report.
Again, we'd like to welcome Dr. Foley. He brings a wealth of experience up from the Site Plan Review Committee. Thanks, Dave, for participating. Dave and I have known each other for 20 plus years. The residential development report, you might notice that we finished the year about 40% below last year for single-family residential dwelling permits. Multifamily permits were down. There were several contributing factors. Some subdivisions closed out, they filled up. The economy was a little shaky, and towards the end of the year, the interest rates slowed down building a little bit. However, we do have several new subdivisions that intend to open up real soon, so we're hoping that activity picks up again next year with some new products on the market.
Les, do you know how Andover stands in relationship to the rest of the state in building permits? And
I get a report from the metro area. It was absolutely all over the board, both Wichita, Sedgwick County, all of the suburban communities. Most were down in general. There were a few of the smaller cities that percentage-wise looked really good, but because their numbers were so small, the percentage sways.
thank you.
Anything else along those lines? All right, thank you, guys. We will move to agenda item 5.1, the final PUD of the Heritage 3rd Edition. Justin, Les, whoever.
I'll take this one, Mr. Chairperson.
All right.
The subject property is generally located southwest of Douglas Avenue and Yorktown Parkway. The applicant is proposing 44 lots on just under 11 acres within parcel 1 of the Heritage Preliminary PUD plan. Water and sewer service for the subject properties are provided by the City of Andover, and the subject property will receive access from Yorktown Parkway, which is running north and south, and then that Heritage Way, which is at the bottom left of your screen there. The final PUD complies with the subdivision regulations, and it complies with the preliminary PUD. The subdivision committee took a look at this item at their meeting last week and recommended approval for the Planning Commission this evening. That concludes everything that I have to say on this. I will say that the applicant is here if you have any questions of them as well.
Any questions of staff first, and then we'll ask if Brian would come up to the podium, please. Good to see you, sir.
Good evening, Brian Lindeback, 411 North Webb Road, MKEC Engineering on behalf of the owner and applicant. Merry Christmas, and we are in agreement with staff comments.
Anybody have anything for Brian on that?
You know,
All
I
right.
was unfortunately the only one there for subdivision last Tuesday, but we went through everything and everything seems to be in compliance, so.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Brian, thanks. Thank you very much. Well, if there's no further discussion, we'll look for a motion on item 5.1.
Well, Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion that we approve the Heritage Third Edition Final PUD Plan and recommend that the governing body accept the dedication of land for public purposes.
Thank you, Gary. We have that motion. Do we have a second to that?
Kirsten Barnes, second.
Thank you, Kirsten. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Merry Christmas. Agenda item 5.2, the vacation petition at 818 North McLeod Circle, case Z-VA22-0002. I will now open the public hearing, and I'll ask staff or Les or Justin, forgive me, to comment.
This vacation arises from what I'm going to say is some miscommunication between the development team. If you'll remember, several years ago, we platted the subdivision, the Highlands at Teradyne, that are those townhouses to the west of the clubhouse. And McLeod Circle was their public access, but it was a private street. After the fact, the owners of the land adjacent to the north wanted to plat more single-family subdivision, but they needed access, and that access would have came off of Highland Circle. So there was some negotiation there between partners and HOAs about converting that private cul-de-sac to become a public street and then extend up on into the Spay side at Teradyne subdivision. Where it got lost in the communication was that the developer of the Highlands at Teradyne and the Highlands HOA were building stone fence columns and wrought iron fence and an access automatic gate to their private street subdivision that ended up to be on what's now public right-of-way in Highland Circle. So the developer's here tonight asking to vacate a portion of what was converted to public street so that their private access gate is still in a reserve, not on public street right-of-way, where if it were in public street right-of-way, it would be there at the mercy of the public street maintenance and operation, all of the utilities and so forth.
Les, thanks for that. Would you explain to me, or maybe for all of us, but the document says something, the city attorney prepared a license. Help me understand that.
So I think on one of those exhibits, trying to remember if it shows, no, we don't have a good photo of it in the agenda. Our aerial mapping is old enough, it's hard to see. Maybe it's in the applicant's exhibits that he provided.
The applicant used the same.
Okay, so some of the fence columns and the fence are in the public street right-of-way. Private improvement in public right-of-way. So to allow that, the city attorney prepares a license where the public gives this private entity the right to exist in the public right-of-way.
Kind of like a sign.
Right, kind of like a
Somewhat like
sign
that.
or,
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. That helped me
Somewhat like
clarify.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Some cities call them a minor street privilege. Some cities even go down so far as to hand out a minor street privilege for irrigation on the public right of way,
Oh, my.
which I would think would be a nightmare to
Yeah. Oh, my.
Right.
try to
Right.
administer.
Does that license have a time limit on it or is it indefinite?
It's indefinite,
And is there any,
but the public always has the right to recall that license. If something were to come up that the fence had to be removed, it would be at the HOA's expense and at the governing body's call. So that was why this HOA was a little bit nervous about having several $1,000s invested in this entry system
Mhm.
that was there at the mercy of the public street.
are there utilities in that area or?
Yes, there are water and sewer lines.
Okay.
What we've recommended, I gotta go back and look at. What we've recommended is because this is a vacation and by law, if this, what's now public right of way is vacated, it goes to the adjacent owners, which is a little odd in this case because there are two adjacent property owners and an HOA. What we're recommending is that the HOA and the property owners come to an agreement and a quit claim where they quit claim this vacated street right of way to the HOA. So the HOA owns and maintains those gates and posts that are in the right of way, the former right of way.
Mhm.
So it's a little complicated and takes a deep dive down in the weeds.
It absolutely does. Corey, you, anything else you'd like to add to that? Please, we'd welcome it. Thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Corey Shackelford, 502 Belterre Circle, Wichita, 67230. Yeah, I want to kind of boil it down to just what we're asking for tonight because a little bit of extraneous stuff got worked into the presentation. Can you bring up my slides, please? And if you want to just advance me to number 2. And this is just a blow up of the northwest corner of the exhibit that was just up. All we're asking for tonight is for the little red hatched triangle to be vacated. Okay. So yeah, where the pointer is on either side of the little label say parcel 4,
Yep.
Either side of what you can see the street, which are the reserve street into the neighborhood. Both sides of that, you can see little rectangle, little squares. Those are our gate columns. And this is an as-built survey that was done somewhat recently. So what we're really asking for is that little triangle was lumped into the dedication of the right of way. And had we been paying attention and communicated better, as Les said, that line would have been moved up to where we're asking for it today. That's all we're asking for tonight. Now, separate from that, city attorney and ourselves, we did work through a license agreement because, as Les mentioned, the progression of how this went, we put up our amenities and our beautiful, pretty stuff, and then the group to the north said, we want to develop this, but we don't want to do it privately. We want to use public financing for the streets. Therefore, the easiest way to do that was to make this whole entryway that we built privately, turn that over to the public. So again, if that line had been just adjusted up, I wouldn't even be here tonight.
Right.
The license agreement they mentioned is for the green hatched areas up there where our brick and stone columns and our steel fence live today and will in the future. We'll ask to allow those to remain under a license agreement with the city. in the right of way. We're not asking for any of that right of way back. So two very separate things. All we're really here for is the little red hatched area to bring the actual functioning gates and gate columns into the neighborhood reserve and out of the public right of way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did to me. Thanks. Any
Sure.
questions for?
Well, and the
For Cory.
HOA's totally fine with taking on the responsibility for that.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of why this is even becoming an issue, we're getting ready. We're really wrapping up the project. It'll happen this coming year. And we're just tidying up some boundaries and some amenities and things like that. And again, some of their amenities got caught up in a dedication once they were built. And so, yes, they want their gates and their functioning portions of their neighborhood in their control. They don't want to answer to the city or anybody, but they just want to take care of that stuff. The other stuff, the other, green areas, they know it's a little bit of got to be an ongoing relationship between their stuff and the city right away, which again, a sign, a monument sign was a very good, analogy to that. In fact, we'll be asking to put one in the median there in the entry here in the coming year. So not totally out of the ordinary, but unfortunate timing.
Right.
So
Any other questions for Cory? Matt?
I don't.
Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it
My
very
pleasure.
much. Are there any comments from the public? All right, then I will close the public portion of the hearing. And if there's any further discussion, now's the time, and otherwise, we will seek a motion.
I, Vance Garwood, make a motion that we approve the petition for vacation and recommend that the governing body grant the vacation of a portion of the McLeod Circle Street right-of-way while preserving the subject area as a utility easement.
Thank you, Vance. Do we have a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That,
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
yeah, thank you. Merry Christmas. That brings us to agenda item 5.3, which is the vacation petition for the Aspen Creek Reserve B, case Z-VA22-0003. I will now open the public hearing at this time and ask Justin or Les to take it from here.
This is another one of those odd housekeeping bits. Ray, can you scroll that up a little bit? A little more? There we go. Perfect. The Aspen Creek subdivision was platted way back in 1998. And it had this odd little rectangle of property that the subdivision owned that jutted out to the east of the rectangular parent parcel. And somewhere along the line, one of the developers deeded that odd rectangle to the property adjacent to the north, to Mr. Dan Taylor. And they've all lived happily for 20 plus years, but they started to have some discussions about that odd rectangle being a part of their homeowners association, even though it was owned by their neighbor. The homeowners association didn't feel that they should have to carry liability insurance on this odd parcel of property. And the deeded owner now didn't feel that what he's got fenced off as horse pasture should have all the restrictions of an HOA reserve. So the cleanest way we could think of to do away with all those restrictions is just to vacate that little rectangle of the plat so that those deed restrictions from the covenants don't apply to this rectangle.
Right.
The HOA has no connection to it, so they don't have to pay insurance for it, and everybody's happy.
Actually, I guess that's what I was going to ask, your last sentence. So doing this makes everybody happy.
Everybody's happy. They get what they ask for, and it makes perfect sense to us.
Any comments?
It's maybe the strangest thing that I've come across in my year and a half on here.
Is that little triangle there?
Yeah, that little
Rectangle.
Yeah.
Right.
On the red. 45 by 300.
45 by 300, huh?
about 3 acres. Not that it matters at all.
So I used to live out there, so my homeowner dues were going to pay for that. I want a refund.
I was gonna say, don't let Gary make the motion, we'll have that'd be part of the deal. Is the applicant here this evening? Okay. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Look for any further discussion, and if not, we'll take a motion on this item.
I, Vance Garwood, make a motion that we approve the petition for vacation and recommend that the governing body grant the vacation of a portion of the plat of Aspen Creek in addition to Andover legally described as the south 145.2 feet of the west 300 feet of the east half of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of the section numbered 32, township 27 range, numbered 3 east of the 6th PM in Butler County, Kansas, now platted as a portion of the reserve lettered B.
I, Gary Israel, second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And Vance, that was also the longest motion of your year and a half here.
Like the strangest words
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. That should have been an initiation of Dave's down there. We should have handed that one to him. Let the new guy do that
I
one.
learned it from my dad growing up on the ranch, starting at age probably 10. He had the plat maps he'd lay out on the table. And yeah, what neighbor owns what, and yeah, it was interesting always.
Mr.
All right, Gary.
Chairperson, I make a motion to recess the planning commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you,
Kirsten
Gary.
Barnes, second.
Thank you, Kirsten. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, and we will convene the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let me get my paperwork straight on that one. All right. I now call agenda item 5.4, which is a public hearing on case number BZA-V22-0009. We would like to welcome everyone interested in this hearing and lay out a few ground rules. It is important that you present any facts or views that you have as evidence at this hearing so that findings can be made for the decision of this board. In order to grant a variance, 5 specific written findings of fact must all be met according to the state statutes and the city zoning regulations. This board is authorized by state statutes to make a decision appealable only to district court and not to the governing body. After our zoning administrator provides us with some information, I will call upon the applicant and then we will hear from other interested parties. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for final comments. The board will close the hearing to further public comments and will then consider their decision, during which time they may direct questions to the applicant, the public, or staff. You should be aware that the board can require such conditions to be attached to the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to comply with the standards set out in Article 1.106. These are to reduce any potentially injurious effect of such variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of these regulations. Failure to comply with any of the conditions attached to a zoning permit for variance shall constitute a violation of the regulations. You should also be fully aware that if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium and speak clearly so that your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
No.
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on to notification. Official notice for this hearing was published on the City of Andover municipal website on November 26, 2022, and notices were mailed to the applicant and 11 real property owners of record in the area of notification on November 24, 2022. The record shows that at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the board if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to this hearing, which they would like to share.
No.
Once again, hearing none, I will now call on the city's zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals. This is one of those cases that you hear quite frequently in subdivisions that are larger lots. This is a subdivision that was platted in Butler County many years ago with lot sizes in the half acre to 1.5 acre range. And that they were larger because at that time they were allowed to have septic systems. Today they're on city sewer, but those large lots remain. You can see in this case that this applicant actually owns 2 of these lots, which make up a little over 3/4 of an acre. He's asking to put a larger accessory structure on what's now the vacant lot where the single family dwelling that he owns is on the other platted lot. Single family home on lot 3, proposed accessory dwelling on lot 2. In the eyes of zoning, those 2 lots are one zoning parcel. They may be 2 lots, but they're considered as one for zoning purposes because they're under the same ownership. Any effort to separate those in the future would create a nonconformance because remember, the accessory building has to be accessory to a principal dwelling. So the 2 have to kind of run together. The accessory building can't stand alone.
Now, in the future, they decided to sell off that
Right.
portion and someone wanted to build a home that was associated with that freestanding structure. Would that be okay?
Correct. The accessory structure would always have to be subordinate to the principal dwelling.
So somebody couldn't come in and just buy it and say, that's where I'm going to store my, RV, my boats and
Correct.
everything else.
Correct. And that question has come up and we've clarified that.
Okay, good question. And I assume that with the accessory structure on that adjacent lot, one parcel, they're still well below the required square
Yes.
footage percentage and
Yes, the county's website was down, so I couldn't do that percentage calculation for you, but it's well
looks
below.
like it's well below. Yeah. Okay.
Unless they built a mansion If somebody
Sure.
bought
Sure.
that and built a mansion over there.
Any other questions for staff? So I will now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to what Les just reported. Good evening.
Good evening.
Please
John
do.
Ramsdale, 408 West Bales.
Anything you want to add or tell us your story? Tell us about the accessory structure and your plans.
Okay, I just moved there, so I'm not familiar with, I'm a country guy. This is all new. But I am a carpenter and I have a job trailer, a car hauler that I use to haul lumber and trash that I would like to park in this building. So it's going to have two big 10-foot doors, but then I got scaffolding, ladders, and all the carpentry tools, tile saws, all of that I'm going to store in that. And it's just going to be a Menards metal shed, 2-foot overhang, two 10-foot doors, some windows access door.
Where will the drive be or the access to it?
I could go off of my driveway if I can't get another driveway next to it, but right now I just drive off the grass. And there's a slight ditch, but nothing that's an issue. And I was hoping that this included another driveway just right out straight from the shed. And I'd kind of make a wide turn in there so I could turn around and not back out onto the road. But the land is hard enough where I could drive on the grass. But I can't really drive out my driveway where it's at because there's a cement light column right there. That would be an issue, and there's a tree right there. So I do need another road access or driveway,
Thank you.
but it's mostly clean up my yard. I
Sure.
got a lot of stuff. We downsized.
Did you say, you may have, and I just didn't hear it, the height of the building?
Yes, 12-foot ceilings, 412 pitch.
Square footage again? What was it?
32 wide, 40 deep.
12 something.
Yeah, 1280, I think it was. Less driveway, whatever access, that doesn't play into anything, does it?
That's a simple application for a driveway approach permit to Public Works.
Okay,
Yeah, it looks like the house to the north. Yeah, everybody there has, well,
yeah.
Right, probably the majority of
It's
the
the one
homes
that-
in that
do.
subdivision have large accessory structures.
Sure. Utilities to that building?
Not yet. I was told that we'd have to have a light, but I do plan on putting electric in there, but the fellow I talked to from the city told me that we do have to have electric at the entrance. So we're gonna, if, I didn't do anything yet, but Evergy, I'm gonna see if we can't get a double panel or a double meter off our house. Go underground would be the shortest way, because the poles are a long ways away.
Right.
But I'll do whatever they tell me to do. There will be juice there.
Sure, thank you. Any other questions for this gentleman?
no, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this case? Good evening.
Good evening. Francis Marion. I live at 701 South Daisy Lane. So I'm across the street from him and back up Bales.
Which direction? I'm sorry.
South. Okay, diagonal.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Sorry to interrupt you.
I didn't quite get that. I wanted to know like what his height was going to be. And also, this is strictly just for storage. And it can't be like sold off, from what I understand, and as a storage shed in the future.
Right.
unless somebody builds something on it in order to live there.
That's my understanding from what Les said. Yes, he's nodding his head yes.
Okay, so, yeah, just wondering what the overall height is going to be.
I think, can the applicant speak from there, from his chair? Is that all right?
12-foot sidewalls.
Go ahead.
12-foot sidewalls with a 4-foot 12 pitch. So I don't know how to do the math, but for every foot.
So it's going to be 14 foot?
14 foot is that?
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
And
less.
it's used strictly for storage.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out this evening.
Yep.
Thank you. Les, Justin, have any written communications been received?
No, sir.
Okay. Does the applicant wish to provide any final comments? Okay. Hearing no further public comments, I will hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of the required findings of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation. They want to handle those 9?
I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Kirsten.
You bet.
Yeah.
One, findings of fact, the physical surroundings, shape, or topography of the property would result in a practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience for the owner, leasee, or occupant. Staff, the subject property is a 0.8 acre lot. The large parcel provides adequate space while allowing adequate separation from nearby residences.
Concur.
2, granting the variance will result in material detriment or injury to the other property, or improvements in the neighborhood. Staff, no detriment and or injury to the other property or improvements is anticipated.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will result in an inadequate supply of light or air to adjacent properties, substantially increased traffic congestion, increased fire risk, or substantially diminished property values in the neighborhood. Staff, the subject property is a 0.8 acre lot. The large parcel provides adequate space while allowing adequate separation from nearby residences. No adverse effects is anticipated.
Concur.
4, the request for a variance is not based exclusively on a desire of the owner, lessee, occupant, or applicant to make more money out of the property. Staff, the applicant has declared the intended use to be an accessory residential use.
Concur.
Specific conditions. 1, the requested variance arises from a condition unique to the property in question, which is not ordinarily found in the same zoning district and which was not created by any action of the property owner or the applicant. Staff, the subject property is a 0.8 acre parcel. The large parcel provides adequate space while allowing adequate separation from nearby residences.
Concur.
2, strict application of the provisions of these zoning regulations would result in unnecessary hardship for the owner, lessee, or occupant of the land or structures. Staff, the intent of lot coverage maximum is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of residents. The subject property is 0.8 acres, which provides substantial area for accessory structures while remaining below the zoning district's maximum allowable lot coverage of 35%.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Staff, the intent of lot coverage maximum is to promote health, safety, and general welfare of residents. The subject property is 0.8 acres, which provides a substantial area for accessory structures while remaining below the zoning district's maximum allowable coverage of 35% and providing adequate separation from adjacent neighbors.
Concur.
4, the requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff, the subject property is a 0.8 acre parcel. The large parcel provides adequate space while allowing adequate separation from nearby residences.
Concur.
5, the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of these zoning regulations. Staff, the intent of lot coverage maximum is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of residents. The subject property is 0.8 acres, which provides a substantial area for accessory structures while remaining below the zoning district's maximum allowable lot coverage of 35% and providing adequate separation from adjacent neighbors.
Concur.
Concur. Thanks, Kirsten. That being said, is there a motion to either approve, modify and approve, disapprove, or to table the discussion?
Mr. Chairperson, having considered the evidence at the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 5 conditions set out in subsection 11-106B2 of the zoning regulations and KSA 12-759E, I, Gary Israel, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the variance for case number BZA-V22-0009 as requested.
Thank you, Gary. I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I wonder if I will ever not forget that part. A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator.
Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Planning Commission.
Thank you,
Kirsten
Gary.
Barnes, second.
Thank you, Kirsten. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now reconvene the Planning Commission with the final agenda item 5.5, the 2023.
Thanks for coming. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank
The 2023 meeting schedule. Justin, Les?
Yeah, we do this every single year. We like to get the agenda out there so that it can be approved by the Planning Commission. No major changes or anything like that to the agenda. We will still be meeting the third Tuesday of every evening at 7:00 p.m. And that is by code. So as we just discussed that with Dave. But yeah, we wanted to go ahead and put those dates out there just to make sure there weren't any conflicts or anything like that. And you can go ahead and approve that if you're comfortable.
Justin, do we have anybody whose term is coming up?
That's a good question. I want to say, I'll have to look at the exact terms, but I will be reaching out to you if there are. I want to say I don't think so.
Okay.
Right now.
I was just curious.
You're not leaving anyway, even if it was. I just wanna- We're not afraid to
Good
make a
know.
motion.
Good
Yeah.
to know.
Next topic.
Well, I took somebody's spot, so I was a fill-in like for a year and a half or so, and then I got put back on, and I don't know where I'm at anymore in the process.
I can reach out to
Lucky I
all of
missed
you
the first
actually
year.
individually and give you an update, just so you
It's
know. It's
fine.
good to know.
Yeah.
Those 2020 or?
No, let's see, the mayor appointed me, but nobody told me for like 11 months that I was supposed to be coming to the meetings. Finally, somebody said, Gary, you ever gonna show up for planning commission? What?
This is back in the day.
That's
Ah.
great.
It's funny.
Mr. Chairperson, I'd make a motion to approve the 2023 meeting schedule as presented by staff.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have a second? Thank you, Dave. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The new schedule motion has carried. We will end up with member items. And before we wrap up, Dave, take a second. Tell us about yourself. I don't know you, man.
Really? That's good news.
I'm a lifer here. Been a business owner for 20 plus years. Long time. Lived here for at least that many as well. That's pretty much it.
You're a
Nothing exciting.
dentist?
I'm a dentist. Yeah, I was trying to leave that out, but yeah. And Merry Christmas.
Well, welcome.
Glad to be
have
here.
you with
This
us.
is way better than the other one I was on.
I told Eric that you and I have known each It's likely if Dave Foley and I are pushing the shopping cart down.
Oh, it's a deal. It's on.
And Dave, do you still have your pit bulls?
I do. Actually, one of them, the other one, up and died a couple of months ago, as the song goes.
Because, you know, I remember that the mayor, Mayor Price, that was one of his big things to get that resolution changed. And, you know, I knew you had pit bulls.
I had interest, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all good.
Well, anything else for the good of the cause?
What's been happening on this building and its rebuild and,
On the lodge,
well, no, this building from the tornado damage.
Those,
they tell me they're having the typical supply chain issues. They can't get all the windows, they can't get all the trim. They can't even find the manufacturer of some of the trim to match the color. It's been an interesting saga.
We were able to replace some of the windows, which is good. There's still a couple, obviously the big one right out here in the foyer area is still a little rough shape, but we were able to replace a couple office windows that took some damage. So we're slowly getting there.
who released the security? That's on social media now, the security tape of the parking lot. Have you seen that?
Sure,
Cool.
Tornado
Yeah.
footage.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that was pretty
It was
intense, that
impressive.
New
footage.
Suburban that I drive with
Incredible.
800 miles,
Yeah.
got whipped around there,
Yeah. Amazing.
$34,000 damage.
I saw it for the first time. I don't know, maybe last week, I guess.
I'm still picking glass out of the carpet.
Doesn't beat my picture of the golf cart chasing the tornado. That's.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
He's a storm
what's
chaser.
happening on the lodge? Any movement
So-
on that?
So we've commissioned a consultant to give us a report on all things Central Park, the amphitheater, the lodge, how all of these parts and pieces work together, as well as a rehab of the 13th Street Park. So they're looking at all park facilities to see how they interact and make sure we don't have too many redundancies of services. Should have that report out soon and get into work on design. Kirsten, are you on
I
that on
am
the park?
Man, so am
advisory
I.
board, yeah. I was not at the December meeting though, so.
Any update?
You don't know, Kirsten's got a lifetime of experience with operating parks.
I do.
What, Vance?
Any updates on the two rezoning cases we've seen in the past for those restaurants? Like on Red Bud Trail and then just north of the strip mall where Duncan is? Weren't
No
there?
updates. No, actually, typically we're looking for some sort of follow-up application, whether it's like a site
Sure.
plan or a plat. No new applications on those two particular properties.
Somebody asked me today, actually. Actually, someone in my office. I think I might have mentioned it to them and they were very excited about it. So
We are
I-
too.
I didn't know.
And anything being resolved on the water issue for the subdivision down by Flint Hills? I never can remember the name of that.
Southern Hills.
Yeah, Southern.
Yeah, we are working with Rural Water District number 5 still. We actually just spoke with their representative the other day, and he's looking to get some answers on how that can be served or what it would take for Rural Water District number 5 to serve them. So I think he's consulting with his engineering group to kind of put together some solutions and then present that to the applicant and see what our options are from there.
I talked to Terry Brown. I talked to him just probably 4 or 5 days ago, and that's happened to come up. And I mentioned it probably had them spread pretty thin. He said, "Yeah, we'd sure like to be able to do it, but we're working on it." So he told me that too. So
That's one of those scenarios where nothing is ever as easy as it seems.
sure.
Is it ever?
Well, all right. Merry Christmas, everyone. Travel safe. Be safe going to Chicago. Go by Wrigley Field. Take me a pic, will you? Thank you, man.
And
I,
Happy New Year.
yep, to everybody.
Oh,
Yes.
one last thing. On subdivision, we only have 3 individuals right now. I was the only one that was able to make it last Tuesday, and I'm not complaining. But should we increase the number of individuals on subdivision?
I want to say that there is no limit to the subdivision committee members. I think it says there has to be 3. So if there is anybody that wants to do more, I think they're drawn specifically from the planning commission. So if anybody wants to come to another meeting, you're more than welcome to. Yeah.
And again, I think it's very, very helpful in being on subdivision because we get that opportunity.
It is. It's nice. to
Vance is the
see.
chairperson.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. We make you not want to do it.
All right.
I mean, it's probably more
Motion.
interesting.
Oh, yeah, I guess we do.
Well,
Please do.
in
That's right.
meetings, Talk with engineers, and I've learned more on that than this, honestly.
It's a good experience.
Just remember me, definitely. It's the week before. It's at 5:30
It's-
instead of 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
I start falling asleep by about 8:32.
Marla, make the motion.
I make them, what is the motion? I make
To
them,
adjourn.
make the motion to adjourn.
Thank
I mean,
you.
all I had is quit in my brain. Like, I make the motion to quit. And I'm like, that's not right.
All right. Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Merry
I
Christmas.
did. I'm
Happy
like,
New Year.
all I have in my brain is quit. You did.